Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. I made episode 660. You got your host DanK here, and my friend Mike is here. Mike is a truck driver, gone back to truck driving, and that's how Mike and I, how many years ago? 30 more?
It's 30-something years ago.
Yeah. We met as drivers, and anyway, I've been friends ever since. And
before drug testing, we met.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it was before drug testing. There were a few companies drug testing then, but it wasn't required. So we had a few early birds that really liked that, you know. But,
we used to find the ones that didn't.
Yeah, I've always said the only people that benefit from drug testing are the people that manufacture the kits.
Yeah, now it's a billion-dollar industry, aren't we? Lucky?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Keeping us safe.
And so now you're on the road, and are they having mandatory drug? Are you having to worry about a mandatory peanut bottle? Are they pulling the scale?
I haven't seen that. I think that costs too much money, takes too much time, the chain of evidence and all that good things that keep it from off the road. But if you're in a wreck, you could be knocked unconscious, whose fault yet to be determined, but they will test you while you're unconscious. Take your blood. Make sure that everything's copacetic.
That's right, and if you're positive for drugs, it doesn't matter who actually, how it happened to the accident, and all of a sudden you're the bad guy.
Chances are, yeah, unless it was real obvious and you caught it on film. Most drivers I know put those cameras on the dash of their truck just so the boss will believe them about these people that are driving around them, and it kind of keeps you safe from frivolous charges on the road. So most drivers now do carry a camera for their own protection and just run it for every hour they're going down the road.
Wow, yeah. Aren't those like like what, every 24 hours they just keep overlapping what they recorded? Or
well, you know, if you're not saving it, you can just keep recording.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, the cameras are $500-600 alone, and then you need to be able to get the editing down, which is not an easy thing. But
yeah, that was a problem I had many years ago when the city wouldn't let me park the truck on the street next to my house, and I said, hey, you know, this is before all that. I had a couple of $1,000s in electronics, you know, and now drivers have even more, and so it's pretty important to keep your truck secure and what you have in it.
Yeah.
And also, speaking of truck driving, Mike and I were talking last night about driver mishaps, and there's always been the last, I don't know, number of years, they've been saying there's a shortage of truck drivers.
Still is.
And I always said that there's no shortage of truck drivers, there's only a shortage of truck drivers who are willing to put up with the BS. And so, drug testing especially, because like I said, I don't think drug testing is really does anything as far as
no,
or very little anyway. In fact, companies, I remember reading that a lot of companies are stopping drug testing. A lot of them are still talking about it, like, well, you'll be drug tested, but they don't really do it because they found it's not cost effective.
Well, I drove for a company up in Seattle recently, and I didn't need to have a CDL because they're just box trucks, right? And we stayed under the, I think it's 30,000 pound limit. But anyways, you didn't need a CDL. But they always said, well, can you pass the drug screen? And I could at the time. I said, well, sure, anytime. I worked there for 3.5 months, never saw a drug screen.
Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of the other drivers, and most of them had not been screened. So they kind of put it out there like they did 30 years ago. We're gonna, just to see if you'll show up and take the test. It's almost like a bluff in a poker game.
Yep.
Because it does cost them a lot of money, and because I'm a convicted drug felon, I have the added advantage of having a history of manufacturing, making cookies, make that square here, and so they take a dim view of it to this day. But I think they've realized that all this money they spend at the insistence of insurance companies to screen all their drivers, they find that it doesn't really get them anywhere. As far as getting a better class of driver, because half the guys that go to Swift or Schneider, some of these other companies, they work 3 months and then they're gone. They see what a nasty, hard life it is, and they say, I'm not even going to make the $1,000 a week you promised me.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get stuck with an $8,000, you know, training fee.
Did I tell you about the time at the coffee shop or the coffee kiosk where the guy asked me about drug testing? Somebody I had spoke to before, and kind of, you know, so I pulled in. And he knew that I was doing a cannabis show and that I was into cannabis issues, and he said, I got to take a drug test, and I've got to pass it. I cannot afford to fail it. What do I do? And I said, well, I don't know. I've never taken one either. So, but I've heard that those concoctions you can get at like at the smoke shop, if you do what they say, and they claim that it's money back guarantee. So I guess that's what I do, but I don't know what to tell you. Less than a month later, I went into the kiosk again, and there he was. So I asked him, I said, how'd you do in the drug test? Oh, he says, I went and bought the stuff. I followed the instructions, mixed it, and drank it, and I did exactly what I was supposed to do with it. But then I got to thinking about it, and he said, I thought, I cannot afford to fail this test. So he got a balloon and had his roommate pee in this balloon, and then he tied it up and then took it with him into the drug test. So he goes in the stall, and he pulled out this balloon, and he poked it with a pin that he had with him, and it wasn't coming out fast enough.
I was going to say, this isn't going to end well, is it? No.
So he poked it several times, and it burst. And some of it did go into the cup, but not all of it. And he ended up putting the empty balloon in his pocket. And then as he came out of the room there, the lady said, well, have a seat for a minute, and I need to have fill out a form. And as he was sitting there filling out the form, he felt a little uncomfortable. And he realized that that balloon was leaking all over his pants. So that's somebody else's pee.
I was going to say, yeah.
But anyway, he passed. So he never did find out whether the stuff really works or not.
I've heard that a lot of them don't, especially if you have a history. Sometimes the company, they love to give you the hair test because they swear that they can go back a year. Though in a court of law, 90 days is about it. Even if you got hair that's 2 feet long, it doesn't matter. But the shampoos don't get to the inside root of the hair. And the stuff that you would have to use would almost be as strong as battery acid because you basically got to get to the follicle at a cellular level because that's where cannabis shows up. You know, your body loves it, right? It's not trying to shed it because it's not toxic, so your body finds little pathways to, you know, work into your system,
right? Yeah,
and stay there because there's nothing wrong with it being there. So,
and I know in previous conversation you told me that there's still a large number of truck drivers that are using cannabis even today.
Sure. Well, I mean, the beauty of driving a truck is that your boss is never there. You know, he's at the end of the phone, and you can always say, "Hey, bad connection," just hang up on him. You know, but they do have GPS units in the truck, so they know exactly where you are. And they're happy with that. They don't need to talk to you all the time. So also there are no real facilities when you're out there for them to stop you for a drug test. So really the only time you're going to see that occur is if you have an accident or you're involved in some kind of an incident where the insurance company is showing up there to see what the damage is. They're going to say, okay, who's involved? You're going to get a drug test. That's their fault. That's their fail-safe. You know, but for all practical purposes, I haven't shown my logbook to a cop. I haven't rolled across a scale that had an inspection going on. None of that. You know, when I was rolling up in Washington, they sat there, Washington plates, I just kept going. You know, so it's really just, as soon as you get into it, as long as you don't have a history of a conviction, you know, they need warm bodies. And they really are scraping the barrel.
California's still the same?
It's worse.
I don't doubt
it's worse. You don't want to go to California anymore.
I don't doubt it. I don't imagine.
Take an airplane.
California Highway Patrol in blue coveralls, dressed in coveralls, and it's creepier in their little car or pickup, and they're rolling under your truck and check it all out. Oh yeah.
Stay off of Interstate 10. Interstate 10.
Yeah,
they're still there, and they still have the
banning. You're talking about banning, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they still got their bug stops too.
Oh yeah.
Those are always fun because the CHP shows up there now.
Oh, great.
Just to make sure that nothing sneaks through. So.
Oh yeah, that's.
They give it an effort, but it's really, you know.
I went through banning with a suspended driver license, you know.
Yeah.
And They were open. I thought they were, for some reason I was thinking I thought they were closed, and they weren't. And I went right in.
I was going to say Banning was the most notorious one in the group.
Well, yeah, well, they were open, and I went in, and yeah, it was it was a pretty picture, but the thing is, the computer was down.
Oh, that's good.
And I kept saying, I kept acting like, I had all the time in the world. I mean, this is like on a Saturday late afternoon, and I didn't have to deliver till Monday, and I'm only, anyway, not very far away. So I just kept acting like I was short on time. Hey, I got to get out of here. I got a schedule to keep, because I wanted to get out of it before that computer came back up.
Yeah.
They finally let me go, and they said, well, if we get anything, you'll get a letter in the mail. Well, I did. I got 2 of them. Typical California. They nailed me for driving while suspended and driving with an invalid driver's license. Mm-hmm. Typical California. 2 charges for basically the same thing.
Well, the law works in mysterious ways. Just like if you get possession, chances are you're going to get delivery and manufacture, because you're going to take that bag of weed and make it into 2. That's manufactured.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and it had to get there, so that's delivery. So it's just they got.
So how's the scene around truck stops? Is it a little calmer now, or is it still pretty wild partying going on?
No. It seems a lot of guys are doing the white dope.
Oh.
You still got to stay awake. They have. Cheaters in all trucks back in the day that a lot of the time you wouldn't have a way for the boss to know exactly where you are, but everything now is satellite.
Yeah, I've thought about that. Of course, I never worked like that.
You can't cheat anymore like we used to, where it said, it never takes me any more than half an hour to load my truck.
Right, yeah.
Now your truck's not moving, so you can't lie anymore.
Yeah,
you sit there and you kind of go off duty to get your truck loaded, or on duty not driving, right? And then you wait however long to get loaded. And then you sit there and say, well, I just spent 4 hours here, so I can only drive for 6 now, because you can only have 10 hours on duty. So sometimes they can let you drive the extra 2 hours and work a 12-hour day, and then I keep waiting for my boss to tell me how do I cheat. Because you can't shut anything off. Back in the day, they just tell you, get another logbook.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Seuss is in the sleeper. Right, he's my cousin.
Yeah, that thing about, there's been more than once that, you call in and give them a little white fib as to where you are.
Oh, yeah. A lot of times you're sitting in Texas and say, I'm in New Mexico. We're fine. Some ways I miss it, in other ways I don't. But, well, the trucks are a lot nicer now.
Oh, yeah.
They really are.
Well, that was something I saw in my driving career. They went from, companies started getting better and better and nicer equipment because driver retention. They were dunning on them. The drivers were quitting because the trucks were so bad. And when they bought trucks, like a fleet, they buy a fleet of trucks and they think, okay, well, let's see, if we don't get power steering, we could save all these thousands of dollars, and goes on from there. And they don't even think about the driver and what an issue it is for them. And just no power steering is so bad on several fronts. One, in case of a blowout, you can kiss your ass goodbye. And also, but the other thing is, it just wears you down. It just wears you down. It makes a big difference having power steering. But.
Well, one of the things you see now is you see really nice cabs, really nice sleepers, but they have a governor on the engine.
Oh, yeah.
And so you got this big old motor, but you can't go faster than 60. So you get a lot of guys out there trying to pass each other, and it takes them 3 or 4 miles. Because one truck's doing 59, the other one's trying to pass them at 60.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they won't slow down and just get in line and deal with it. They got to, So.
Well, that's great. Well, we got to take a break here and come back to the second half, and we'll continue the discussion and talking about cannabis and how it is out there in the big world. So stay tuned, and we'll be right here, and hopefully we'll be too.
Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Why these people who want to do so much good for everyone, who call themselves governments and this and that, why them say you must not use the herb? You see? And we check that and we can't find, we just see them just say, no, you mustn't use it because it make you rebel.
Welcome. We're back to the second half of the Eugene Cannabis TV show, episode 660. Making a quick announcement here. The Eugene Pot Club. Now, this is coming up real quick because We're talking. This is going to be in about 5 days. So if you see the show, if you see this show pretty early on in the week, you'll be all right. But anyway, August 28th, Eugene Pot Club Harvest Party, and that's going to be at 3825 River Road, and it's at 4:20. That's on a Saturday, and membership only. It's real simple to join the Eugene Pot Club, and don't miss it. And also, I wanted to talk about this last show, and I missed it. The first 2 people that come up to me and say that they heard about the show, heard about the party on Eugene Cannabis TV, I got a special prize for you. So say hi to DanK when you get there. And also, we talked about the Northwest Cannabis Club in Portland. Don't forget about that. It's out on Southeast Powell, the good people. And that's another offer. I've told people that they're looking for people to come in and say, hey, DanK sent me. So spread the word. DanK's telling you to go. But anyway, so we've been talking about driving on the road. And, of course, that always brings up the question of impairment. And so you don't advocate using pot on driving, but you want to advocate for taking a break.
I'd like to have that argument, but the more important one is just to let it be used responsibly. You know, and you have drivers now that have very comfortable trucks with very well appointed sleepers with refrigerators, and what a great place to put a 6-pack of beer. Right, so you get so many hours off every day. It's mandatory. You can't work more than 12 hours. You can't drive more than 10, and you're parked for 8. Some companies will even shut your truck down if you go past that. So you can get yourself stopped on the side of the road if you're not being careful. You got to plan more with these electronic logs. But you know, I would really like to be able to, at the end of my day when I've been driving, especially avoiding every Prius in existence that's on the road, to just have my way of relaxing. You know, where I could just smoke a little bit of cannabis, read a book, play the guitar, just unwind. You know, I don't like alcohol. Alcohol and I have never gotten on. I've always done stupid, ridiculous things on alcohol, but not with cannabis. And so there's really not a whole lot of movement in any state that I know of where this subject is being broached, where, you know, the biggest problems that we have in trucking are guys doing pills, are guys doing opiates, or guys doing alcohol, stuff that is out of your system in a weekend's time.
Pills, meth, we call that road dope. Anything that keeps you awake, you can call it road dope.
You still got some good long-legged go-fast out there, you know, what they used to call it, and it's still there. And they can't catch these guys, and these are the guys that are really giving everybody else a bad name because they're out there artificially going down the road. Who was that one cat? Tracy Morgan, the comedian, was in a terrible accident a couple of years ago because a Walmart driver had been up for who knows how long, probably using a little bit of pharmacology to keep him awake. Anyways, killed several people, severely injured a few more in one of those caravans. And they found this guy had been up for like 2 days, and here's Walmart drivers who are heavily screened, heavily monitored with drugs, and you know, Qualcomm's in the truck to make sure that they're not breaking any law. But this gentleman obviously was, and almost killed somebody. But by the time they get him, there's nothing in the system. I guarantee you that if he would have had cannabis in the system, that would have been the cause of the accident, no matter how long he had been up. Right, that would have been forgotten. So there is no sense of humor about cannabis use in the trucking industry. You know, they have to have a healthy fear because they basically turn a driver over in a 40-ton truck and hope that he does well, and hope that he doesn't have a bad day out there, and hope that he is a responsible person who isn't going to drive aggressively or take chances or whatever. But they can't screen that out. You get guys out there that have been driving too long, for too many hours, for too many days, and as you remember, some of these guys lose their senses. After a while. And but I think it's, you know, important for anybody who's in a professional capacity, you know, to be able to responsibly use a legal substance. You know, I'm not talking about getting in the truck, turning the thing on, smoking a bowl and going down the road. You know, I'm talking about when you park that thing after you had your shower and you're sitting there and you're trying to relax after a 10-hour day of driving through Kentucky. I'd sure like to be able to relax.
Yeah, and that's the way I that's why I used cannabis when I was on the road. It was because the thing is, you can't, when you're driving a truck, you're pretty much got to go. The time kind of dictates where you are and what you're doing and what you got to do. And so there's many times when you're waiting for your truck to be loaded. You know you're going to be tired later on, but you're not tired now. So what do? Well, you smoke a joint or smoke a bowl, and then turn on some music and lay down. And that's the way I used to do it. That way I could be relaxed, take a nap, and I'll wake up, and then I'm ready to go. And I've already had my rest. And if it hadn't been for the smoke, there's no way I could have gone to sleep. So,
well, I have to put up with this as just the reality for this position.
Oh,
you know, and at my age, this is the only way I can make a decent living. I'm looking at other avenues because it's really not worth it. It's a lot of stress. The stress being that, you know, there's a lot of Mr. Magoo's out there in cars these days, and it seems like with the advent of all this electronics, from GPSs to just cell phones, that people are driving distracted when they really can't afford to be distracted with what they're doing, you know. And so you're constantly having to be aware that this person in front of you in this Subaru, or generally a Prius, is not really paying attention or is not really capable for the situation you're in. And I've seen a lot of guys, big trucks, you know, really have to get the big whoa going because somebody just kind of eased it over, not really thinking what he was doing. And then you get people in a hurry, you know, so you spend most of your time just trying to avoid the accident that I haven't had yet. And that takes a lot of your nerves reserves away. So when you're done, you're okay, you can take a shower and you can eat, but you're still just kind of like, you know, it takes 3, 4, 5 hours before I can get to sleep. And then I've only got 5 hours left maybe to actually sleep and get up and go. You know, so, and if you drive locally, I remember when I was doing that, you spend an hour commuting to the job, you're going to spend another hour commuting going home, and then you're going to work a 10 to 12 hour day. So even though you're driving and going home every night, you're basically just going home to maybe eat dinner and then sit around for an hour and go to bed. Get up and get your hour before you got to get on the road to go to work. You know, it's worse actually. I would rather just sleep in the truck and just keep going than commute. I hate the commute. I hate Washington. It's terrible.
Many years ago, I remember
Tacoma's terrible.
a driver I met, he said, the company I drive for has really good equipment and they really pay well, but they have a tattletale on the truck, which is a thing that records what you're doing. And this is before the computers that there are nowadays. This is back in the mechanical days, but regardless. Anyway, he said that, it was great money, he said great equipment, but it's 55 mile an hour speed limit, and if they break that, they're fired. That's just like that. And he said, so he said, I just smoke a bowl and turn on the stereo and drive 55.
I knew people who would sit there and would drive 59 because the truck was in a better RPM range and smoother. And
I remember I drove a PX truck over in Germany, and they had a electronic overdrive or something in it, and you could, I remember what it was. You'd flip into overdrive. You'd flip into overdrive, but keep the accelerator on the floor, and that way you'd go into overdrive, but the speedometer wasn't registering the correct speed, you know. And so they said, as long as you didn't let up on the gas pedal, you're all right.
Those old style steam gauges, you know, they don't have them anymore. It's all digital, but you know, that's what
that's
call them.
Well. How about now? You're running reefer now, and you primarily where do you run? The West Coast, or do you go east? Or
not anymore. I'm just on the West Coast now.
Okay.
I got kind of tired of crossing the Mississippi.
So he used to say, my passport doesn't go past the Mississippi.
I was going to say, we used to call the Mississippi the Iron Curtain. That was usually when you went from 80,000 pounds gross weight to 72 and change, but now it's 80 everywhere. But one thing that I did notice and have been reading about is the Mississippi is drying up.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you've heard about this.
No,
They've had record rains. The Ohio River is flooding, you know, because there was the last hurricane that went through, the one that went through Texas, right? Well, anyways, but you get down around Memphis, just north of Memphis, and there's no water. The barges can't go from I think somewhere south of St. Louis to
Wow.
to Memphis.
Wow.
And this is October. There should be plenty of water in the Mississippi, a big river, but the water seems to be just kind of disappearing. So
Wow.
there's also a fault line in there that's been active lately, and they're thinking that maybe the earth has opened up and has been swallowing water for the last month or so.
Yeah, boy, it sounds like it. I know my wife and I spent a weekend in Memphis when I was driving truck, and we went to Mud Island. You
Yeah.
ever heard of that? Been there? Yeah. Anyway, that was fascinating, but I can't even imagine the Mississippi drying up. It was wow.
I just talked to somebody. I didn't see it, but I had a buddy of mine that just went through Memphis, and you can look north because that's where there's this one slough that goes off right as that Interstate 40 bridge there when you cross. Anyways, and you can look upriver and you can see this big island that kind of sits in the middle of the river, and it's all dried up.
Wow.
You look down the Mississippi and you see sandbars.
Wow. Yeah.
Not water, sandbars. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh God, this is really interesting.
Wow.
You
Oh, I
know,
want to
so-
mention livetrucking.com. I mentioned this to
Oh, yeah.
Mike. I'm subscribed to that, and every day I get 3 to 4 articles on something truck related. A lot of times it's on accidents, sometimes caused by truck drivers, sometimes caused by four-wheeler. I mean, they're all there.
Yeah.
Sometimes truck drivers hitting overpasses too tall for them. The one guy with a backhoe, that was really ugly. But yeah, I forgot where it was, but he wiped out the bridge so bad that they're going to have to rebuild it. And it's a main artery, and so it's a major, major problem. But anyway, it's interesting. If you're into trucking or interested in it, I'd check it out. I don't have any what do you call it? Anyway, it's nothing I'm promoting. It's just I found it interesting. So if you like trucking and want to read up on some stuff, check it out. livetrucking.com. So anyway, I appreciate you, Mike, coming in. It's so good to see you again. I don't
Good to
see you
see you
nearly
too.
often enough, but always welcome. Come on the show, and we'll always be here behind the Sheldon High School on Monday nights at 5:30. We'd love to have you come in. We had a guest came in tonight, and always enjoy that. And every Monday, I say at 5:30, and then check it out on YouTube. We're now on YouTube, thanks to our producer. So anybody can see it. Everybody can see it.
How many years now?
Since early '90s. Yeah, it's just.
I was trying to think when the first one was
Yeah,
released.
yeah. Well, but this is episode 660, so that's quite a string. Okay, so good enough. See you next week. Thanks for watching.